everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I realised that I've had a bit of a gap since my last vlog, and that's not because I haven't been doing anything, but that is just because life is so busy, what with work, 3 horses, 2 small young children, and being obviously on a yard of my own. It just means that every now and again vlogging goes out the window. So I thought it might be worth just giving you a bit of an update vlog so you know where we're at, what's been happening and what the kind of future plans are. And then hopefully I can get into a bit more of a routine with the vlogging after this one. I'll try my best. But what I was going to say is if you don't already subscribe to our channel, please do hit the subscribe button because I really would like to get up to 1,000 subscribers if at all possible. And yeah, if you like this video, please do like, comment and share, and do check out all of the other videos which are a little bit more action packed than this one. So where do I start? Well, let's start with Franco. So Franco has done quite a few events this year, so I think we've done 5 maybe in total. And we were leading up to Aston Le Wolds, where we went and we gave the novice a crack, and I was intending to vlog on that day. However, it did not go to plan, and there is actually a short up of our show jumping round where I hit the deck and I get eliminated. So that was kind of the end of that. But Franco is now on holiday, and the plan with him is that I'm just trying to get him ready for novice level, you know, the training, the fitness and everything. It's just an awful lot. It's a lot. So the new plan is he's having a bit of time off because he doesn't love the summer, and the ground at the minute in the UK is rock solid. So he's having a couple of weeks off, and then I'm going to bring him back in with the aim to get him out doing a bit more British dressage. So he only needs 1 more qualifying score for area festivals. So we're going to give that a go, and then sort of September time, ground dependent, he will come back out eventing again at 100 level. And I think the plan is to have a go at the 105 3-day event at Osberton, which is actually new, and it's specifically for amateurs and for people who are competing at 100 level. So that is really good. I'm so glad that they've brought that out, because obviously to do a 1-star, which was the original plan, we do need a qualification at either 105 or novice, which we just haven't been able to do this year. So that is the plan. All being well, you know what it's like with horses. And also I'm going to try and get out show jumping a little bit more, because when they're ever so slightly bigger, Franco just feels like he loses confidence and he just goes into himself a little bit. So I think, yeah, we need to get back out and do that. But yeah, the Aston run was not what we had intended at all. The courses looked lovely as well. The cross-country course looked beautiful. And he'd actually done a pretty good dressage test for him. So we'd got a 34, and I believe we were in the top 10 after dressage, but there we are. It's very annoying because obviously at Osby got a 39 dressage, which was really bad. But then did a double clear, and then he does a good dressage test and a fall off. But that is the nature of eventing. So that's what's been happening with Franco. And then the main part of this video is actually going to be an update on Ruby. So I realised that Ruby hasn't been on my channel very much since I bought her in February, and she hasn't really been on my Instagram either. And that's just because there has been an awful lot going on. So just to kind of recap, I bought Ruby back in when was it? Yeah, it was the beginning of February. She came to us, and I bought her as a very green 5-year-old. So she's just turned 5. Her birthday was in fact on Tuesday, so she was technically a 4-year-old, but in her 5th year. And I knew that she was going to need an awful lot of work, but the basics had been done. So she could walk, jog, canter, pop across the pole. She'd been out hacking, that kind of thing. So I bought her, got her home, and obviously those first couple of weeks, if you want to go back and look at my videos, I had all the checks done. So she had physio, dentist, saddle fitter, all of that. And that does take quite a lot of time. So I gave her sort of 2 weeks to settle in. Then we had all the checks and everything done. And then I started with the ridden work. However, I just felt from the off, I was struggling with her. Basically, there's no other way to say it. I was struggling with it, and not in the fact that she scared me or anything like that, but I just felt the past couple of weeks like I've just not been making any progress with her at all. And every single time I got on, she went very tense. There was a lot of head tossing, there's a lot of tail swishing, and sometimes it was quite drastic to the point where I'd get off. And there was other times where it wasn't so bad. But I kept persevering. I've taken things really slowly. So she's only been in the school at home, and then she's done a bit of hacking with a couple of friends of mine who have horses in the village. And I just felt like there was something was niggling me, where I was thinking there's an element of this where it could be, she's a young horse, she's in a new place, different routines. And then there's an element where I think that there's actually something wrong. And after speaking to my wonderful coach, Wade, he also agreed that it looked like she was trying, but something was irritating her. She was uncomfortable. She was in pain somewhere. And so we talked about it. And from some of the other sort of signs and symptoms she was showing, we decided to have her scoped. For ulcers. Now, I've never had a horse with ulcers before, or that I've been aware of before. I've never had a horse that's shown any of the signs and symptoms. But yeah, I think Ruby was quite unusual in the fact that she wasn't particularly girthy. She was fine sort of being brushed around her tummy area and things like that. It really was coming out in her ridden work. And I think for me, what was really upsetting me really was that she is the loveliest character on the ground. She is such a sweetheart. She's so cuddly. She's so gentle. And then when I was getting on, she was appearing a bit marish, which I'm putting in these because actually we now know it wasn't her being marish, that she was actually in pain. And I kept thinking this just seems like a bit of a disjoint in her character. So anyway, we had a scope for ulcers, which I've never been through this process before. So you have to starve your horse essentially for 16 hours, which I'm going to be honest, I really, really struggled with. I kept her in overnight with the boys. She wasn't on her own. And I couldn't really sleep because I kept thinking, oh, bless her, she must be thinking, you've forgotten to give me hay. And anyway, so she had to be in the night, and then I took her to the vet. It's the first time I've actually taken her out in the lorry, and it's the first time, well, I did it on my own. So it's the first time I did it on my own. And she was such an angel. She was so, so good. She loaded first time. She travelled really, really well. We got there. We had to wait for a little bit for the vet to be ready, and she was so well behaved. And I said to her, I stood in the horse box and I said to her, I promise you, no matter what it is, I'll fix you. And I've listened to you. And let's get this sorted. And I mean, as I say, it's one of those things I sort of thought, is this actually just an unsettled young horse, or are there issues? And my gut was saying there's something going on. So part of me is like, oh, I waited a bit long because she'd been with us for sort of 3 months, although actually in terms of ridden work, I'd only really done about 6 weeks with her. So there we are. Anyway, I took her to the vets, and she does indeed have ulcers. So she had grade 2 and grade 3 ulcers. But luckily, they are the squamous kind, not the glandular kind. So the vet said, look, this is really easy to treat. So she's been on a protein pump inhibitor for about 3 weeks now. We've got about a week left of treatment. And then the vet said after that time, we're going to have a rescoped, obviously. But then actually after that time, we should be able to manage it with, correct feeding, forage, making sure that she's got turnout, making sure that we feed her before she does exercise or she travels. So that's why she's not really been appearing on my channel very much, or on my Instagram, because we've just been trying to get her right. And the vet did say to me, while she's on her ulcer treatment, you can keep riding her and do things if you want to. And I sort of have, but very, very gentle. We've not kind of done anything strenuous. And I've not obviously tried to kind of push her learning. We're just doing things that are very much in her comfort zone. As I say, she's about 3 weeks into treatment, and she is like a totally different horse. She's still very forward going, which I like. And there's still, when she's ridden, real inconsistencies in her contact, but I feel like this is what I was expecting when I took on a green horse, and actually before the behaviour we were seeing, we just weren't getting anywhere. Bless her. So that's where we're at. As I say, we've got a week left of treatment. She's going to be rescoped, and then hopefully just with that management we can sort of crack on, and hopefully get her ready for a bit of eventing next year. That is the sort of ultimate plan for her. So in terms of what we're doing next then, And just to add to that as well, I did speak to a couple of my horsey friends about her potentially having ulcers. And some of them said, oh, just maybe try this supplement or try that. And I know that there is a lot of supplements out there that claim they help treat ulcers. But for me personally, I really wanted to know what grade we were dealing with and what type we were dealing with, and just getting the right treatment, no matter how much it costs, because she's insured anyway, and just getting her sorted. I think the fact she's so young as well, I really, really wanted to make sure that that was right. So that was a very personal decision to me, which I just wanted to put on as well. So in terms of plans for Ruby then, I am actually taking her out today. So this is going to be our first arena hire since she's come to me. We are just going down the road to Green Lane Equestrian, which is somewhere that I've taken both Franco and Obi previously. It's a lovely big indoor arena, and I just want to see how she copes, basically, going somewhere else. And have a little ride around. I am going on my own, so I'm not sure how much footage I'll be able to get. Hopefully I'll be able to get a little video of me at least on her. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop in a little montage of footage of probably from when we first tried Rubes, and then kind of the progress we didn't make when she obviously had her ulcers and those issues, and then a bit of footage 3 weeks into her treatment, so you can kind of see how much she's sort of settled down and then starting to progress. But otherwise, so I'll let you watch that, and I'll see you at the yard in a little bit. So I thought a voiceover would be easier for our trip down memory lane. So this is me trying Ruby in January of this year. And you can see there's some little things like there's a tail swish in a minute. She's not consistent in the contact, and her body just looks tense. And that's how she sort of felt. Obviously, it didn't put me off purchasing her, because I felt like she was a nice little horse and she had a lot of potential. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of watch this back and think, oh, was something kind of rumbling on then? We then got her home, and this is my first lesson with my instructor, Wade. And you can see there's a bit of tail swishing there. Actually, to be fair, in this clip, she doesn't look too bad. I think Nick managed to catch the best part of our lesson. But actually, there was a bit in the middle of the lesson where she was head tossing, going sideways, swishing her tail, threatening to buck. And Wade was a bit like, oh, what are we going to do here? And it was at this point where I started to think, I'm not sure, like, this doesn't feel like... So there where she bobbed her head, that's normal for her age and her training, I think, because she's green. She needs to learn to, work through her back into the contact and that kind of thing. But some of the other things, the tail swishing, the head tossing, sort of going sideways and stuff, it did just start to make me think, oh, is there something else potentially going on? However, it was difficult because, as you can see here, like in the walk, she is quite nice and relaxed, and she's taking the rein and she's stretching through. And some days she'd be better than others. So yeah, it was sort of difficult to navigate initially. So this is just some clips a couple of weeks after my lesson. So me and Wade basically have a chat, and he says, oh, I think she, we just need to make it so that the arena isn't stressful for her. So every now and again, sort of once a week, I'd bring her in and I'd just wander about like this, doing lots of turning. And here she looks really sweet. She's, she looks nice and relaxed. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing. A little bit of tail swishing, but on the whole good. And this is me schooling her. And this was kind of, I'd say, the last schooling session before I had my lesson with Wade, where we decided to get her looked at. Because you can just see, even though here she's going quite nicely and she's really, really trying, she still just doesn't look like she's using her body. She's still quite tense. She felt very, very tense. And as you'll see in a minute, there's a couple of times where she just sort of breaks into the canter, or she proper starts tossing her head around. And it was these kind of signs that made me think there's something else rumbling on here. But bless her heart for trying, because you can see here she's really trying to do what we're asking her to do. Like, here we go. There was quite a lot of this, which I don't have much of it on camera because, as I say, I'm always on my own. But this was, this kind of stuff was not unusual at all. So yeah, it was definitely at this point I thought, right, let's get her looked at. And this is just a little bit of footage of me on her a week into treatment, and one of the issues I had with her was actually getting on, and it was actually the process of getting on. I'd then have 5 minutes of some of that behaviour you saw in the last clip, and this is a week after treatment, and I've just got straight on. You can see I'm walking around Buckle End, and I've got my phone out my pocket to video, so real improvement there. And I thought, oh, finally, this is much, much better. And then this next clip is actually last week. So this is about 3 weeks into treatment. I've got straight on and she's straight into a nice stretchy walk. And you can see in her trot here, I mean, it's not perfect, guys. She's a 5-year-old. She's a very green 5-year-old that's had ulcers. And we're still getting to know each other, a really new partnership. You can just see there's more swing in the trot. She's using her body. She looks more relaxed. The consistency of the contact is the main thing we have to work on. But there's none of that violent head tossing up and down. You know, she opened her mouth there. That's fine. But there's none of that violent head tossing. She's not spooking anymore. She's not really swishing her tail. There's none of that kind of going sideways, and getting on and everything is so much better. So yeah, bless her little heart. She was obviously in a lot of pain, really uncomfortable. And I'm so glad that I listened to her. And it's, yeah, it's only up from here. So I'm now at the yard. I'm about to open up the lorry. Ruby's down there at the bottom, so we're going to give her her medicine this morning too. But hopefully from those videos you can just see, I mean, there's nothing drastically wrong. She wasn't, you know, she wasn't doing anything really bad. It just, her body was holding an awful lot of tension, and every now and again there'd be, as you saw near the end of those videos before her treatment, the sort of head tossing and the darting off into canter. And I just thought, there's just something, yeah, just something kind of niggling here. And yeah, I don't have a huge amount of footage, unfortunately. That's pretty much all I've got. But yeah, hopefully you can see that now, following her treatment, she just seems more relaxed. She just seems happier in her work. So I'm really glad that I followed my gut, took her to the vet, even if it was an expensive trip, and we can sort of go from there to get her fixed. Sorry, I'm struggling to open the lorry. Can't do two things at once, apparently. So yes, I'm really pleased with that. Really pleased that we got to the bottom of it so quickly. And yeah, as I say, she's coming along really nicely now. Anyway, I'm going to go grab, oh, the sunshine's coming out. I'm going to go grab her medicine. She's so good about that. She'll just literally let me walk straight up to her and pop it in her mouth. So we'll do that. Then that needs sort of half an hour to settle. And then about half an hour before we go off in the lorry, I'll then give her some chaff, because one of the best things you can do, apparently, as my vet says, is provide a fibre mat for horses with ulcers. So that essentially sits on the top of the stomach and it prevents any acid flicking up. So that was news to me. That is not me being preachy, just passing the information on that I've recently learnt too. And yeah, then we'll be loading her up and taking her for her first arena hire. I'm very excited. No expectations at all. If we just get there and have a nice relaxed walk round, that's great. So this is the PPI that Ruby is on. As you can see, we've just got the last box left. By the way, I think earlier in my video I said protein pump inhibitor. It's a proton pump inhibitor. Anyway, yeah, I did a medical science degree and then a PhD, so I should really get that right, shouldn't I? But there we are. So I'm going to go give her this now. As I say, I can just walk straight up to her in the field and give it to her. And we'll say hello to the boys as well, shall we? So here's Franco on his holidays. He's like, if you've not got food for me, I actually really don't want to speak to you. Yeah, he's disappearing off. He's like, no, you haven't got a bucket. Oh, now he's going to follow me. Obi's there too. Obi is thoroughly enjoying retired life. He's got the biggest bit of field. He's actually getting a little bit fat, so I think I'm going to have to rejig the fields a little bit. Ruby Dooby's down here at the bottom. I need to poo pick. That's first on my list before we go anywhere. But here she is. Here's the girl. She's walking off after I said she's so good. Like, she knows that I'm coming to give her this. Oh, hey, I've just bigged you up and said that you don't run away, and now you're running away? Are you going to say hello to everybody? She's like, no, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of you walking up to me in the mornings. Come say hello to everybody. Oh, he's a good girl. Going off on an adventure today. Very exciting. So that's Ruby all medicated up. Sorry, I couldn't keep recording and hold her and shove that in her mouth at the same time. The joys of vlogging on your own, hey? So I'm now going to go and get her some chaff to give her in about 20 minutes, half an hour. In the meantime, I'm going to poo pick. So I'm going to crack on with this and I'll see you when I'm about to bring her in for our trip. Right, everyone, that is us all ready to go. I've got my wheelbarrow with my saddle and bits in. And Ruby's all here. I haven't popped a rug on her just because it's sort of chilly but warm, and she's a horse that runs quite hot. And I thought if she gets a little bit anxious, obviously you don't want her sort of sweating up. I am travelling her in her bridle. That's not normal for me. But seeing as this is my first trip out, I'm going to be on my own. And I'm not 100% sure what she's going to be like when we get there. It's also just down the road. It's literally a 15-minute journey. I thought leave that on. I've got some little booties on her front legs. I put them on her back legs for the vets. And actually in the horse box, she just seemed like she was a bit like, oh, so I think I need to try and put them on her just more regularly so she gets used to them. And again, I don't really want to be faffing around with back boots if she's a bit unsettled. So I can whip the front boots off, throw her saddle on, and then I have popped her tail bandage on because she's got a funny sort of wispy tail, as you can see. It's all sticking out. So I've just popped that on just to protect that, and I think for our first trip out, keeping it as simple as possible and easy as possible will kind of reduce the stress. So she seems chilled enough, so I'm going to get her loaded up now, and if she's calm enough, I'll speak to you when I get there. Did I vlog when I get there? No, I didn't. So you've got another voiceover, I'm afraid, guys. But this is me, literally just walked in. She was really funny about going in. She had quite a lot of encouragement to go into the arena, and another horse has just left. So bless her, she's really wanting to look around. You can see that she's a little bit tense, but how good is this? I mean, this is the first time I've taken her out and about. It's a completely new place. It's an indoor. There's horses around the outside. There's mirrors. And she's just walking around like this, and bless her, I just thought, right, well, let's just keep your feet moving. Let's just have a good walk. You can have a little bit of a look around and, you know, get that out of the way. And then we cracked on. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage other than the walk because my husband was working. So he threw me on and then he left me. But we had such a good session, and I really feel like we made a huge amount of progress in our schooling. So yeah, I'm really, really thrilled with her. And the way she coped was marvellous. How she knuckled down and then did her schooling was fabulous. And hopefully we will have some really lovely footage, proper footage, to share with you soon. But again, I thought this would show that I'm feeling brave because I've taken my hand off the rein and I'm filming her. And look, she's having a little look in the mirror like, ooh, what's that? But yeah, thrilled with her. Absolutely thrilled with her. What a superstar. Right, everybody, that is us back. I'm so incredibly proud of her. She was amazing. She was absolutely amazing. Can't stop smiling. So loaded perfectly, this end, that end. Travelled like an absolute angel. She just stood when we got there. My husband met me there, bless him, just because he was like, I wanted to make sure that I could get you on, and then once you're on, I knew that you'd be all right. So shout out to my husband for doing that. But he did have to disappear back off to work. So I've only got a tiny bit of footage of us at the very beginning, and you know, she was a little bit on her toes. She was a little bit tense. There was another horse in there which then left. It's an indoor. There's, you know, mirrors. There's a bit where people can sit. And yeah, the first 10 minutes she's a little bit tense. So I just walked around, and then my husband left. I said to him, I'll be fine. And then we just cracked on. And she was brilliant. I don't have any footage of it, but she was absolutely brilliant. So I feel like I achieved an awful lot in that session. So once she settled down, we just cracked on. And she was an absolute trooper. She tried her heart out. I feel like the consistency of the contact got much better. I was able to work on her canter much better as well with the more space. and she just coped so well. Like, she's probably never seen mirrors and stuff before. There's horses all around the edge as well in the stables, and she was just super, really super. And you know what, that's the first one done. I said to my other half that actually I wouldn't have even cared if we'd got there, I'd sat on her, walk round and then taken her home. That would have been a win. But the fact that I've just managed to school her beautifully for 45 minutes is absolutely amazing. She was so, so good. So yes, really, really pleased with that. Hopefully that is the first of many. I don't want to do too much with her in terms of going out and about though until she's had her second scope. So that's kind of the next thing really. I might go back to Green Lane next week with her just to sort of consolidate what we did today. But yeah, over the moon with her, over the moon. I do think, as I said on stories yesterday, I think I might just trial a couple of different bits. She doesn't seem to love this bit. It's the Expert Bits Comfy Barrel, which is actually what I rode Franco in. So I think I might try her in the Hanging Cheek, which is what I rode Obi in, and I'd say she's probably more like Obi than Franco. So I'm going to have a little play around with her bits and make sure that that's as comfortable as possible. And I also have to get the saddle fitter back as well, because that saddle hasn't been fitted since she first came. And physically, she has changed an awful lot, but what a bloody brilliant first outing. She's actually shocked me, and she shouldn't have, because she has been a really, really good girl sort of so far. Come on, we better get a move on. Come on, I've got kids to pick up from school. But yeah, she shocked me. She coped with everything so, so well. And you know, I think for the first couple of weeks, as I've shown on the footage in the beginning of this vlog, I really, really struggled with her. So the fact I've just taken her out on my own, and then my husband met me there to throw me on, but I did everything else myself, throw me on, and she's just gone like that. She's an amazing, amazing little horse, and I've never bonded with a horse so quickly, but I love her to pieces, and I'm so excited. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that vlog. It's very different to normal, a lot of me talking. I promise the next one will be more action, less chatting. You come for a cuddle. But yeah, that's it from us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.